Hi there, welcome back to the channel. This channel is all about Škoda EVs. So at the moment it's the Enyaq and the Enyaq. This car is an Enyaq, but the Enyaq and the Enyaq are pretty much the same car. So any videos about one you can kind of read across to the other. And my most recent video was what it's been like to live with this car, an Enyaq Coupe, for the last 2 years. And I talked about some of the updates that have happened to the software in that car over that 2-year period. But actually that's not the whole story. So as well as the car software, another thing which is directly run by the Škoda software team is the MySkoda app. Now you also get this on Volkswagen. I'm not sure what the name of it is there. You definitely get it on Cupra, and it's called MyCupra. And the apps are pretty much superficially similar, but this is where Škoda have really been differentiating themselves. And in the last year or so, they have really been pushing updates to the app. So in September last year, September 2025, I was at the Škoda EV Lounge meetup in the Czech Republic, and the software team there explained how they were using Google Gemini, integrating that into the route planner part of the app. And it was enabling you to basically find more things along your route, and basically Gemini would be picking up places to stop, places to visit, all that sort of thing. I personally haven't used it that much, but there have recently been a number of other changes. So what I'm going to do is screen record from the phone and overlay that here so you can see better exactly what it is that I'm talking about. Okay, so the first big change, if you go out to the main menu of the car, and so you can see all your usual stuff there, name of the car, you can see it's unlocked, you can see I'm charging at the moment, but what you need to do is you need to go into the target temperature. And if you go into the target temperature, tucked up there in the right hand side, a tiny little image of a tent. What could that mean? Well, here we are, it says there, camp mode. So climate control will switch on and off throughout the night to maintain a comfortable temperature while camping. Your car will need an internet connection and have at least 30% battery to run overnight. When inside, lock your car using the button under the infotainment menu to avoid setting off the alarm. And for safety, do not leave children or pets unattended in the car. And then you can just simply hit run. And I've got it set there to keep the temperature at 18 degrees. So it's keeping it separate from the static air conditioning function, which I've got running at the moment, and it is a separate one. And if you have the ignition turned off, which you would do if you're wanting to camp in the car overnight, then you can use that feature. And from what I've read from people online, it seems to work very well. Of course, the one other thing you might want to do is, if you were a pet owner, this is a little bit like dog mode in Tesla. But of course on Tesla, what they do is they put a big message up on the screen saying, don't worry, I've not been abandoned in the car, my owner will be back soon, the air conditioning is on to keep me safe. So the Škoda doesn't have that, and it does say you mustn't leave children or pets unattended. But I'm guessing if you really did have to leave a dog, for example, in a car for a brief moment, then you could do it. However, there's no way that anybody passing by is going to know that you're running the aircon for the dog, and they might, well, I don't know, smash the window or call the police or something like that. So I can see why Škoda have said don't leave a pet unattended, but if you were really stuck and you had to do it, I'm sure this would work perfectly well. If you're the sort of person who camps in your car overnight, then this will be a fantastic feature. Personally, I've got a camper van, so I'm not going to camp in my car, but actually that thing right up above me would be the main obstacle to me sleeping in the car, because at this time in the year, it's July, it gets light about 4 o'clock in the morning here, so having bright light shining through the roof would just wake me up and I wouldn't get that much sleep. But a fantastic feature, and it's something that people were asking for, and it shows that Škoda have been listening and they found a way to bring this feature to us. So well done. Where else might it be of use? Well, the UK is apparently languishing in a heat wave at the moment. Here in Scotland it's reached 21 degrees, which I don't think exactly qualifies as a heat wave, but for if you were in a hotter part of the world, I was in Germany recently and it was 42 degrees, and you were trying to work at home, for example, I can actually see that putting camping mode on in the car and sitting in the car for several hours during the working day, you might get a lot more work done by staying cool and comfortable in your car. You just have to find somewhere, I don't know, to position your computer and try and find a way to work effectively. But if you're spending your day, as I do, on Microsoft Teams meetings, actually, it's not such a bad solution, really. But that's not all. There have been other changes made to the app, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin the camera back round again, and I will show you what's happened for a few other areas. Okay, so what we can do, we've got here trip history, and you can see all the different trips here that have been made in the car, going all the way back. Well, it's going back quite a long way, to be honest. This is going back into May, back to the start of May. Okay, and you can see in there, if you go into it, it shows you where you've been. Actually shows you a map is in the background there, shows you your total consumption, works out an average for you, shows the distance, how long you were driving for, and your average speed. It gives you your battery condition at the start and at the end. In this case, it's a trip from Livingston up to Dundee, so that's used 24% to cover the 70 miles up there. And yeah, it shows you the odometer at the start and the finish. So that is quite a useful feature. What I would say about that one though is that I've noticed that there can be some pretty freakish calculations shown for your efficiency. So yesterday, Sunday, I drove across to my mum's to help her out with some gardening work, and according to the car, we averaged 5.5 miles per kilowatt hour in consumption. Tronity, which is another third-party app, showed 5.6 miles per kilowatt hour. So a slight discrepancy there, but nothing major. And the MySkoda app showed 8.5. 8.5 is freakish. There's no way this car's done 8.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So I don't know what's going on there. The app is in beta, or the version I've got is in beta, so I've provided that feedback to Škoda, and the software team can have a look at that and work out what's going wrong there. Overall though, it's normally pretty accurate. And then finally, another feature that is now in the app is the charging history. So if you go into the battery charging screen, obviously I'm charging at the moment because we've got abundant solar, but if I go in here, you can see that it comes up. And right, here is a little bug which I have reported to the team. So if I am charging on AC quite a lot of the time, if I'm on solar, I'm trickle charging into the car, and if it's below 7 kilowatt hours, it shows you there I've charged for 1 hour and 7 minutes and I've put nothing into the battery. If you dip into the actual screen, you can see, well actually yes, there was power going into the battery. You can see I started at 49, finished at 51. It was on there for just over an hour, well 1 hour and 7 minutes, but there has been nothing recorded. So that's a bug in it at the moment. But if you can, I'll show you here on here, if you charge at 7 kilowatt hours, sorry, if you charge at 7 kilowatts, then it does record properly that I put in 8 kilowatt hours into the car. And then obviously if you are on a DC charger, I don't think, it's a long time since I was on a DC charger, to be honest. No, there's nothing recorded there, so I can't show you one of those. But those are two very useful little features. One of them still in beta at the moment, and obviously I've found a couple of little wrinkles there for them to have a look at. But these are all great features, and camping mode is available on all Enyaqs, all Elrocks. So even if you've got an old 2021, I say old, it's only 5 years old, one of the first generation Enyaqs with the 3.7 or 3.8 software, you will have camp mode enabled on your car. So it just goes to show that they are very innovative, very keen to find ways to keep improving these cars, and I think that's to be applauded. Anyway, let me know, have you found any other features in the app or in the car that you find particularly useful? Let me know if you're sitting in somewhere that's actually enjoying, or enduring maybe is the best word, a heat wave. like across in Germany or down in England, let me know if you're finding camp mode any use, because I can see that would be very useful. And when we were suffering in 42 degrees of heat in Germany, I would have loved to have this feature available on our Volkswagen. But it's a diesel vehicle, so I'm afraid you can't do that unless you sit with your engine running, and that's just adding to the problem. Anyway, I hope that's of some use, and I will see you in another video very soon.